How has the room looked here as you get into go through OTAs and get ready for minicamp next week?
Yeah, I think competitively very, very strong. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys that bring a lot of different abilities to the table, and what you want on any team at any level is you want competition because it's going to bring out the best in everybody. And I think you've got that. You've got a lot of guys that have logged a lot of miles in this league, you know, and have some experience, and some who've been a little further in it than others and all that, but that can kind of provide some help to guys. But I know the competition's been good.
A lot of coaches would have logged a lot of miles here on this offensive side of the football. What have been your thoughts in working with Freddie and company here in the first few months?
You know, it's been great. I mean, everybody knows Freddie's personality, you know, and then his years of experience and what he brings to the table and all those kind of things. So he's the type of guy that is going to draw great coaches to him because of how he goes about his business and then what he brings to the table. And then, you know, you add guys like Todd Monken, who I've got a tremendous amount of respect for and has done great things at a lot of different levels, and James Campen. You don't stay somewhere and be as successful for a long period of time like he has, you know, previously at Green Bay without being something pretty special. You know, Stump Mitchell, Ryan, obviously, you know, probably a little bit younger guy, but from an experience standpoint as a player and kind of baptism by fire as a coach, you know, and then Adam, obviously his track record speaks for itself.
Is there something about Freddie that has surprised you as you've really gotten into the relationship? Something that maybe you didn't know that all of a sudden you were like, okay.
No, you know, I've been around him. I've seen him coach before. I know how he coaches. I know how he goes about his business. I do think he's a guy that, you know, does a great job at like, hey, we're going to fix problems. We're going to move on to the next play. You know, no one play is fatal. No one play is final. It doesn't guarantee success, doesn't guarantee failure. Let's line up and play the next one, you know, and get better at what we're doing.
What's the biggest challenge that you see with your room?
I think developing and establishing consistency with everybody. Had the conversation with David a couple days ago, matter of fact, that I could probably sit up there right now and I could pull 50, 60 clips just from our time, you know, out here in OTAs and voluntary minicamp that would be him doing it exactly the way we want it done, whatever it is in the running game, protections, routes, you know, catching the football, all those things. So you could pull a game's worth of clips of him doing it right. You could pull just as many or more of him not doing it exactly right. So it's the ability's there, okay, the know-how is there, and it's up to him and me to get him there consistently. And that's speaking of one guy, but I think it kind of carries through the room.
Sure. Is that a mental thing? Is that just a repetition from a physical standpoint? What exactly is that to get him to do it consistently?
It's probably, for most guys, it's a combination of things. But I think, particularly speaking of him, it's you got a guy who certain ways of doing things or certain habits you develop, then you've kind of got to break those and fix them back better in certain things. And you know, the thing I can say about him, he's been I think he's got a mindset that he wants to be great. He understands that even though he's still young, you know, as far as the calendar or whatever would say, I think he's 22. He's got 2 years of work in this league already. And someday, you know, some nights you go to bed and the next day you wake up and you're not considered young anymore. Now, when's that day come? You don't know, but you got to take those steps. And I think he's aware of that and working towards that and wants to be great. And that's the first part of the battle.
I know Seth the Valve has had his share of injuries over the last couple of years. What have you seen from him here in this offseason?
You know what? He has, again, I would say the same word for him, consistency, but he may have, just from what I can gather, had his most consistent spring. Now, obviously, it's hard to judge some of those kind of things. I know some guys get nicked in this phase, but it's really set up for you to be able to learn and teach and really use your athleticism and some of the gifts that he's blessed with. So kind of the next step for him is when we come to training camp. But I think from a standpoint of a guy grasping what we're trying to do it hard every time, do it the way we want with great effort, be a leader, all those things, you know, he's taking steps in that direction. And you know, we've all been around guys that may struggle for a period of time, whether it's a season, whether it's a couple years. I remember when I was at Florida State and it was shoot, it was probably 20 years ago. We had a defensive lineman named Corey Simon that was hurt for 3 years. And you're kind of like, I don't know if he'll ever play. And matter of fact, he was a backup, and he got to go in a game, the first game of the year, whatever year it was, maybe 98, because the starter got hurt, and he ended up being a 2-time consensus All-American and first-round pick because he finally was healthy. So you think, Seth can do the same thing.
Offensively, have you seen a team with this amount of weapons? Is there anything that you can equate? Now, it's early, and there's a lot to prove. And, everybody on the coaching staff says, well, we haven't achieved anything. The front office would agree, and the players would too, I think, for the most part. But on paper, there's a lot of weapons here.
There are. It's all a work in progress. And I think guys have to understand you just have to worry about being, as an individual, being great at your craft, and then as a team collectively, how do we complement each other? And, that's our job as coaches to figure that out as well. And then the job of the player, I think tight end's always one of those positions, particularly where, some weeks the ball finds you more than it does other weeks, but you darn well better be ready every day and every week. And I certainly think, again, from a reputation standpoint, the caliber of guys around that position, those guys should be excited because they're going to take some coverage off of them sometimes. We've got to be able to run the football, and that's where it starts. I've never seen a team that couldn't run the football, be able to win at a high level. I think that's kind of how we're all wired to a point. But, I think everybody's fighting. That's the great thing about when you have a lot of guys that can do it, you get great competition, like I said earlier, and everybody's fighting for their plays, and whoever proves dependable out here will be the ones that get rewarded on Sundays.
What have been your impressions of Baker Mayfield?
Really good leader, guy that wants to get better, guy that wants to be great. Obviously, I'm not in the meeting room with him every day, but to watch how he communicates, with really everybody, to try to get everybody on the same page. Because at the end of the day, even sometimes if you're not on the right page, if you're all on the same page, you got a chance. And I think he does a great job with that. Works. Again, I think keeps it fun because at the end of the day, it's still a game, and we all tend to forget that sometimes. But I think we've got that kind of personality on our team. Guys that like to have fun, but winning's a lot of fun. So that's what creates that. And the stereotype is that he's got a chip on his shoulder, and that I think there's probably a lot of us that have a pretty big chip on our shoulder. And if you use it the right way and you do it collectively as a team, then it can be a pretty strong thing.
Finally, what are your goals for next week in minicamp?
It's to be able to evolve a little bit on the whole as an offense and as a football team. Kind of as a staff, I think we all want to walk away feeling like when we hit the ground running in July, we've got the vast majority of our questions answered, in terms of here's who we want to be and here's how we're going to do what we do. Because it happens so fast, all of a sudden you're playing a game. And obviously that, that first Sunday where they keep it in the win-loss column is coming pretty fast. So you want to be able to do that and just kind of, again, you're forming your team. It's really the whole phase 1, 2, and 3 and, the mini camps and all. That's what it's all about this time of year.